Alright guys, welcome back. So we have set it up the basic constraints. We have two constraints. One is a glue constraint, another one is a hard constraint. As you can see, the hard constraint is really trying to put constrain things together and hold the shape, while the glue constraint breaks sometimes, as you can see those smaller debris. So let's take some time and tweak some of the attribute that we can change on this hard constraint so that it's I would say lesser bouncy and lesser stiff, so it will crash into the wall, maybe even bend a lot. So let's go to the hard constraint here. Actually, let's go to the glue constraint here for now, and I'm gonna say maybe the strength can be lower than that, like let's say 5,000. It's like halfway. Let's take a look. Because the glue constraint is weaker, the actual hard constraint will also becomes a little weaker. That's because they're not holding that much anymore. Okay, so I'm gonna say maybe even smaller, like 1,000, and run it again. As you can see, it's really crashing into the wall now, and just bounces back just a little bit. Okay. Now I want to really make it just bounce back a little bit more. Now on the hard constraint settings, there's something you can change, which is the constraint iterations. This constraint iteration is how much, right, if you look at the number of iterations performed by the constraint solver for this constraint. The more you do iteration, it means the more time you really wanted to maintain its shape, and so the more it will be stiff, or it will be stiffer basically. -1 means it's using the value here on the rigid body solver constraint iteration, but you can change that to, you can change that, you can change that to like something higher than 10, because the default setting, as you can see here, is 10. I'm gonna say, what if I make it stronger, like 50, and let's see what happens. So now, as you can see, it's trying to hold together better and even bounces back afterwards. Okay. So that's how stiff it is. I'm gonna say I want the glue constraint to be even weaker than that. Let's try 500. I really crush it, and then it bounces back. Okay, let me also make the wall also a little bit bouncier. And the way you do that is go to the static object, and that's the bounce attribute underneath physical. You have the bounce attribute of 0.5, and you can maybe change that to 5, so it's like 10 times more bouncier. Let's take a look at what happens. You can see it's really trying to push things back when I hit it. Okay, so I'm gonna say, okay, that's a good bounce. Maybe I can also make my actual RBD object my car. It's probably better to rename this guy car. I'm gonna say, alright, maybe I can also be a little bit bouncier. Let me change that to 1. Let's take a look. As you can see, it's also getting a little bit bouncier too. It's rotating and do all sorts of interesting stuff. Alright, now I do want it to be lesser stiff, a little bit more lesser stiff, so I'm gonna make the glue strength to be even lower, like 100, just to push it a little bit more. I wanted to see more like really squeezing in kind of like effect. It's like a huge like crush, and then it kind of like resting down afterwards. Okay, still not like weak enough. I'm gonna maybe change this guy back to 30. As you can see, I'm just keep fine-tuning those numbers and just want to find that sweet number that really gives me a really like eye-pleasing result, I guess. And oftentimes it's decided by the director. Maybe the director say, all right, how about make it bounce back more, right? Then you can make it bounce back more. So I'm gonna say, all right, let's make you bouncier and let's see if it's gonna bounce it back more. Alright, you can see the front part is really trying to like hold the shape together, but it's kind of like there are a lot of forces applied on it, so it has to twist a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna say I need it to be lesser stiffer, maybe 20 here, and let's see what happens. Whoa, that flips. It's probably not a bad thing. I would say that let's take a look at how it eventually ends up with. Alright, probably don't want it to see the bottom because there's nothing. I'm gonna say back to 25. Take a look. Maybe smaller than that. Let's try 5, so it's even lower than the default setting. I wanna see what happens. Whoa, that's like crazy. Five is too small. Let's go back to maybe 15. That was a bit weird. Like, it's trying to. I think that's because my simulation is not like having enough steps. Let me go back to the car simulation, change the sub-step up to 2, so that it will simulate better. Go back to the simulation. This is gonna be requires double time, but I'm still pretty fast, so I can accept that little overhead. Okay, I guess it's doing something, but I don't quite like this like flipping result. It's going a little crazy. I'm gonna say maybe let's just do 10 here, and on the glue let me make the strings even smaller, like 50. And maybe the bounce is too bouncy now. You see, it's all back and forth sometimes. Like, I'm not sure, am I doing the right thing? Like, which attribute should I change? Because there are many attributes that would actually change how things like behaves. So now with lesser bouncy, it's not gonna flip back, maybe not that much. Anyway, so I will spend some time here, like for like 20 minutes. Until I'm like pretty happy with what I'm getting eventually here. So for the demonstration purposes, I'm just gonna leave it like this, and it's okay. It has a nice squeezing bounce and resting down afterwards. I can feel like that bounciness, the spring bounciness in front of the car. It almost feels like the metal that I want to describe here, right? So I guess it's okay. I'm gonna live with it. Okay, so let's talk about something else. Now when I make the car hit the wall, something really breaks apart too, which is the wheels. Like you can see, the model is not that detailed, so that you can see cylinders. But I still wanted the wheels to hold together. I want them to be just bouncing off, but they're not like becoming cylinders, right? I still want them to be assembled together. So why are they getting like all separated? Well, if you go back to the car here and really look at our attributes here, you can see that the glue holding the wheel, they're all the original glue and they're really weak. As you can you probably saw that earlier, right? I changed that to 50, so that's not cool. I really need them to be stronger here. Okay, so I'm gonna say, alright, what if I create more else before I do the last else? I'm gonna say else if the S attribute part equals to well. If it equals to well, then I'm gonna say make a new glue for me called let's also create a CD for it. So CD equals stat. I'm gonna use purple this time, so it's gonna be 0, 0, 1, and I'm also gonna say a new constraint name equals to well. Need a comma there too, and run it. Got an error. Let's take a look. Oh, I need double equal. Okay. As you can see now, it's actually blue because yeah, blue is okay. So now what I'm getting is like this wheel part is now blue. Now here, if I go to the car simulation and merge in a new glue, and it's gonna change this glue to glue well, and then also use the well as the glue, and strength to be really high. Then I should be able to see that the wheel will hold together right over there. But I have another problem. The wheel are holding together, but they're holding together and not really fall off. They're part of the body now somehow. Now if you really look at our constraint network here, it's reasonable because those blue lines, which is apparently from the wheel components here to the body, this blue line is also well glue, right? And its strength, as you can see, I said it here, really strong. So of course it's gonna stick on with the body because that glue is super strong. So I need somehow to make these lines here, if I can go select these lines that is like spiraling out, not the center ones. The center ones are actually the ones I want to hold together. I want these lines to be weaker or super weak, like the glue. Okay, so we're gonna talk about how we can do that in the next tutorial.